Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Coffee with a Pastor. Hope you can find the video. I hope your week is going well. I hope you're not burning up in this like crazy Texas heat. Those of you coming from outside of Texas to watch, let me know what the weather's like where you are. I'm curious. So hi everyone. I I thought while I kill some time for people to sign on, I will show you. Hey Tammy. I will show you something I mentioned the other day, which I keep these jars of random things that if I'm not careful, Heather will throw them away. Heather's my partner, and so I've got like all these jars here of just like random things that I want to remember. There's like 1, 2, 3, there's 8 there. There's probably a few more around the house somewhere. And like, so I save random things. Like recently I came across this. It's a button to an Air Force service dress coat, and I saved it. Not because I'm a hoarder, but because I think it's an interesting little knick-knack that I want to put in a jar that one day, you know, I imagine in my vanity that my kids are going to be fighting over these jars and who gets what. And then one of them will open it up and see this button and be like, oh yeah, Dad was in the Air Force. I saved, hi, if you're here, say hi, by the way, so I can see who it is. I'm just, while I kill some time for people to sign on, I'm talking about my jars that I keep random little knickknacks in. I saved this broken drill bit as I was working on my homemade camper a couple days ago. I had to drill through the steel tongue and coupler of the trailer to put on new safety chains. And I drilled through like, I don't know, 1/8 inch steel or something. And I just felt like such a man because I broke a drill bit. And I thought, I made that hole. I'm a man. Look what I did. So I saved it. It's going to go in a jar too. I don't know. I usually fill them up sequentially. I think I need to start a new one now. So these are my random jars of stuff. Let's look inside of one real quick. We got 6 people on. We got a quick moment here to show you some random, like I've got this jar here. I've got an old military ID. You're not supposed to be able to see that because you could steal it and then impersonate me and go on base and do terrible things. So don't do that. I've got this name placard I had from Air Force Basic Training. My nickname was Homeschool. Long story there, very embarrassing. I was not homeschooled, but the MTIs made fun of me and said that I acted like I was because I didn't have any social skills, which is a terrible thing to say to somebody. I've got this pipe where it's like what, 1.5 inch pipe or so, where I drove, you can't see it, I drove a stake through it. This is our supply line to our house. And I'm pounding on this landscaping stake, and I didn't realize it, but I drove it right through it, and all of a sudden water everywhere around me comes up out of the ground. And I saved it in my jar to remind myself, don't be stupid. So that was a huge mess fixing that. So there's just a few of the things. I think I'm going to put in my drill bit and button in there too. And all these will go back on my bookshelves and around the house in random places. All right. I've been rambling now for a few minutes. I wanted to spend a few minutes this morning talking about perhaps the most formative book in my life in my thinking about what it means to be a religious leader, a religious person, and a pastor. And it's this book, Silence, by Shusaku Endo. I'm probably saying that wrong. And number one, the artwork on it, I just think is incredible and striking, and I absolutely love it. Number two, the content of it. I read it toward the end of seminary, right at the end of seminary, and I don't know, I really like the professor that assigned it. I don't know if it was his intention to disrupt this much of my thinking about theology and practice, but it was incredibly disruptive in a good way. I wish I would have read it at the beginning of seminary, so then I could have had a lot of good fights throughout seminary. But basically, the book is about these Christian missionaries, Catholic priests, sent to strengthen and encourage local Christians in Japan in the 17th century. And they go and they're full of passion, and they're full of rigid orthodoxy about what it means to be a Christian and to be faithful. And they're going there because of all the backsliding Christians. And as the book unfolds, it takes the reader on a journey of beginning to question, what does it mean to be faithful? What does it mean to be faithful to Jesus? And by the end of the book, you are questioning, asking yourself, for those just jumping on, I'm talking about one of the most important books of my life in terms of my faith and my thinking about what it means to follow Jesus. And by the end of the book, you're asking yourself, is it about, I believe all the right things, or is it about something else? And the something else in this book is it more important for me to stand with people in solidarity? What does it mean that we follow the crucified one? And it has something to do with being able to join in all the other people in our world that are likewise crucified in all different ways. I don't want to give away too much of it because I want you to read it. I wouldn't feel that bad about spoiling some of the plot lines. It's been out for like 54 years, so if you haven't read it by now, it's not my fault. It's not like it's a new release. I really think you should read it. It's like one of the most important pieces of Japanese literature ever written, according to others. This is what some of the people say. So I encourage you to read it. But really what the book did for me is it led me on this journey of orthopraxy over orthodoxy, which is to say, it took me on this journey of valuing right practice over right belief. I know we're supposed to be non-dualistic, and we're not supposed to think in these either ors of I either have to have right practice or right belief. But I think one of those has to be our guiding hermeneutic, our guiding principle by which we interpret the other. And so for me, this book, without giving away too much, it was this book that helped me shift from being hyper-focused on right beliefs, right thinking, and toward what is right practice as I practice my Christian faith. One of my favorite sermons that I've ever preached, I don't know, probably 8-10 months ago, was I preached on love and these 6 principles of love. And in that sermon, I said that we are not first a believing community or a thinking community. We are first a community practicing love. That is primarily what we are. And then everything flows from that. I'm just now seeing some notes here. Tori says, Marie Kondo would be so proud of me, keeping my sparks of joy. They are my sparks of joy. Ooh, I used to go to a church in Japan off base. Cool, Tori. Yep, you're right. Joyce, I do need to share the stories of this stuff. Great. So, you know, all of that's helpful, but I want us to think about our context today. We are in the midst of identity politics. We are awash in them. Identity politics has its place in our world. I'm not an expert on identity politics. I'm a student of trying to understand it and understand the dynamics behind it. My understanding is the origin behind identity politics was a group of women who came together and said, we stand at some intersections that make us particularly susceptible to exploitation. And now the world we live in is everybody is divided into their own small identity politic camp. And as I thought about this book, and I thought about what I would say, and I thought about many of the conversations that I'm having with others around me, I thought, what about if we began to explore and discuss and think about a different kind of politics, what we might call a solidarity politics, which is a politics of standing together. And more than that, a solidarity politics that's not just a politics of standing together, which is important, but it's a politics of standing with those that we're not supposed to stand with. That's what happens to the main character in this book, the main Catholic priest. He, at the end of the book, look, I'm giving away details, I'm sorry. At the end of the book, cover your ears if you need, he finds himself standing with those he's not supposed to stand with as a good Catholic priest. There, I didn't give away too many details. So I am hopeful and curious for this community and those in my circles. I want to begin a conversation around what would solidarity politics look like. I think we already practice this as a community at Peace of Christ. We defected from what a lot of mainstream Christians say who we should stand with. We've defected from that, and we've said, nope, we stand with all kinds of communities that we're not supposed to. We do interfaith work. We stand with the LGBTQ community. We stand with the community of those who love and are working for the health of our earth. We stand with the community, and we are a community that says women belong in leadership. So all kinds of different ways that we are practicing what I'm calling solidarity politics. I wondered if I made the term up. I Googled it. It turns out I didn't make the term up, but I think I am making it up insofar as what I mean is a politics of standing with those that we're not supposed to. I think it's the politics of Jesus. Now, anybody throughout history that wants to play a trump card, they would often say, well, this is what Jesus would do. But I think this kind of solidarity politics is the politics of Jesus, in that Jesus, was crucified between two sinners. Jesus chose the woman caught in adultery over others. Jesus overturned money changers' tables. Jesus did all those things where he's standing as a religious leader. He stood with those he wasn't supposed to. So what might that look like for us today? Application is always the hard part. Implementation is always the hard part. It's easy for me to sit in my chair or do whatever I do and think of these terms and these ideas, but as a community, I wonder what would it look like for us to implement solidarity politics. Like I said on Sunday in my sermon, no doubt that we are going into a crazy political season where whoever they is, they are going to be trying to divide us, to win us over to their camp. So what would it look like for me or for you to intentionally side with the other side, whoever that is for you, and practice some solidarity politics. Any thoughts? Not a whole lot of comments from this piece. Maybe it's disconnected from kind of what you're feeling and thinking these days. I don't think it's popular. It's certainly not popular to practice solidarity politics. You're not towing the line for whatever group you're in, left, right, center, whatever it is. Tori says Jesus stood with those in his inner circle of 12 who may believe that most others in the 12 didn't have a place there or have their same motives. Yeah, absolutely, Tori. I think I said most of what I want to say. There is I did find a book out there as I was Googling this term to see if it already exists, and it's about solidarity politics and intersectionality and identity politics and things like that, which I'm intrigued by, written by a professor out of California. I might peruse that some more. Let me invite you. Post comments, write thoughts. What would it look like for you to practice some solidarity politics and stand with those that you're not supposed to? Joyce says, I'm thinking of the homeless camp ban in Austin. What do they propose doing besides banning those populations from camping? Yeah. I like that. And Joyce, what that makes me think of is that we often practice a politics of what we're against. We're against, camping, of those who are experiencing homelessness, but we don't often practice a politics of what we're for. And I'm trying to make that shift in my life. It's so hard. It's so countercultural for us to, stop just raging against what we're against and start advocating and building and creating and nurturing. This is what I talked about on Sunday, what we're for. So what would they like? Responding to Joyce's comment, what would they propose instead that we do? One of being somewhat familiar with the issue, just somewhat, I know that they have, they being real estate developers and others have proposed buying entire apartment complexes and buildings outside of the city center to house those who are experiencing homelessness. The problem is you've then removed them from where all of their resources are inside the city center. So I don't think there are any easy answers. Sarah says it's the only way to go. Those who are left behind or ignored need someone to stand with them. Absolutely. Oh, cool. Jeff and Tammy are heading to, it looks like, heading to Pride. Fantastic. Very cool. Okay. Well, I love you all. Number 1, read Silence by Shusaku Endo. If you want, get a tattoo of this picture on you. I think it's one of the coolest pictures I've ever seen. One of the reasons why I love the book. If that's cultural appropriation, I'm sorry. Number 2, I want you to be thinking about what solidarity politics would look like, which is to say, the politics of standing with those that you're not supposed to stand with. It's something I try to do. It's why my Twitter bio says I am the irreverent reverend. I try not to do what's expected of me. In fact, I actively push against that stuff. Keep posting comments. I'll be curious to see how my own thinking evolves on this. It's just something I've been chewing on for the past day or so. I love you all. Happy Wednesday, and see you back here tomorrow.